Welcome to the Unstuck Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Miner. This weekly no-fluff mindset show arms you with the practical tools you need to get unstuck so you can get exactly what you want out of life. Remember, when you change your mind, your life will follow. Let's get into today's episode. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to yet another episode of Unstuck. Thank you, of course, as always, for joining me today. We're diving into the idea of self-love on this episode. I have some things I need to get out there about the topic, do a little debunking, if you will, so we can start really taking this thing seriously and working on it in both ourselves and as a collective. Because I can tell you that so much of the suffering we're going through today as individuals and as a society is from a lack of self-love. Like that's really all there is to it, which means so much of the struggle for all of us as a person, as a community, as a nation, as a world, we have a solution. We just need to learn how to do it and use it to our advantage and to teach others. And let's all get on the self-love train. So as you can see, if you thought this was going to be an episode about why we don't need to love ourselves, you're wrong. It's not that, but there is some debunking that we still need to do around the topic. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's do this, shall we? Start with a quote, of course, one of my very favorites of all time from Byron Katie, who is also, I'm a big fan of hers. It's not your job to like me, it's mine. And really, we spend so much energy trying to get other people's approval and acceptance and never spend any of that energy where we really should be, which is to have our own sense of acceptance and love for ourselves. That's what really, truly matters here. And a lot of us don't do that. And we're going to change that here today. Self-love is becoming more and more popular these days, which is absolutely incredible. And I think we all can agree with that. We all have seen it explode over the past several years, which is awesome. However, I think there's still a lack of true understanding around what it means and why it's really a non-negotiable to every single one of us to take it seriously. And that's what I really find drives me to talk about self-love and to talk about my journey and how I see it, because it's not what you think. And I'll go through kind of my transition into the self-love world and how that went for me in just a bit. But first, let's break it down a little more. Self-love, I think, is really important to living well, to living your best life and being your best self and being the person you want to be. It influences pretty much everything. Who you pick for a mate, the image you project at work, the kind of parent you are, your health status, how you do or don't take care of yourself, how you cope with your problems in your life. It's everywhere and everything. It's in the background to all that we do and who we are. So what I really want to do today is teach you what it is, what it isn't, and how to cultivate more of it, of course. First, let's start with what it is. It's not something you can achieve by buying a new outfit, getting your hair done. You can't read about it and think all of a sudden you have self-love, or see other people post about it and think all of a sudden you're there too. And it's definitely not something that you can get by getting into a new relationship, losing 20 pounds or doubling your income or anything like that we're trying to achieve. And we think that once that thing happens, then the world opens up and everything is right in life. It's not that. I mean, you've all heard the phrase, you've got to love yourself first before anyone else can love you. That applies, of course, to finding a relationship, and you have to have love for yourself before someone can love you the way that you deserve to be loved and want to be loved. And it's true. But it's the same thing for making more money, losing the last few pounds, getting healthy, finding your dream job, etc., etc. In order to get what you want, you have to love yourself first. Which is why I think it's necessary to talk about this right now, because we've already talked a lot about getting what we want, and it's a prime theme of the Unstuck podcast, and we've discussed the mindset shifts that need to happen to get you happier and healthier and living the life you want. But we haven't yet talked about the idea that you gotta love yourself first for those mindset shifts to truly take hold. We haven't gone there yet. We've talked about a lot of the other things that need to be in place for the mindset shifts to start happening. And this is yet another one, loving yourself. The great news here is that doing this mindset work also cultivates and creates and strengthens self-love. So really it's this self-feeding cycle, this never-ending self-feeding cycle, which is amazing. So the more mindset work you do, the more self-love you create. And then the more self-love you create, the more your mindset shifts really start to take hold and you really start getting and living the life that you want. All right, so back to what self-love is. This is my personal definition. Self-love is a state of appreciation, respect, care, and compassion for oneself. And according to Wikipedia, self-love is defined as love of self or regard for one's own happiness or advantage. And also within the Wikipedia definition was kind of two different trains of thought. One, as a basic human necessity, which is what we will determine it is today on this episode. But two, was something that is considered vain, conceited, selfish, and egotistical. And that is what we're debunking today, which I think a lot of you know that, but still we need to go through it just so we are confirmed, surely done with that thought. So we need to get real with ourselves. See which one you believe. See if there's anything left in you that thinks, oh, maybe it is a little conceited for me to love myself. And that's okay and normal and to be expected. But let me tell you right here, right now, let's clear the air. Self-love is not selfish, egotistical, narcissistic, vain, nothing like that. It is 100% not about thinking you're hot, pretty, beautiful, you're just really the cat's meow, and showing that off constantly, spending all your time focusing on how awesome you are and feeling the need to prove it to everyone around you. See the difference there? So just to side note, it's totally okay and encouraged to think you're pretty, beautiful, the cat's meow, and or awesome. Please go ahead and do so. It's more so about feeling that need to prove it and show it to everyone around you, because then we can see that that's actually not true self-love. Here's a little bit about my backstory. When I first heard about the term self-love, I absolutely thought it was this. I thought it was conceited and vain, all those things. Because for me, I had the belief that basically you had to hate yourself, talk bad about yourself, not accept compliments in order to come across as not being conceited. That's what my circle of friends all did growing up. That's just what we did when we were young. We basically just talked about how much we hated the way we looked, thought we were fat, all this stuff. And if we didn't say things like that or act in that way, then we were seen as conceited. So that's how I grew up, basically hating myself and saying the words to prove that I hated myself. Then I was introduced to self-love, and I immediately thought that it was only for those that were full of themselves or had a big ego. And it wasn't until I became fully committed to healing my body, being my healthiest, best self, that I realized what it actually was, which was that it really is a basic human necessity, and you really can't be truly healthy, happy, and the person you want to be without it. Now, there was a lot of stuff in that journey. I went through this whole process that I'm going to share with you today in order to get there. But I do just want to let you know that I started out thinking that I absolutely could not practice self-love because I had to hate myself in order to not be considered conceited. That was a deeply held belief for me, and I had to undo that, which we all know how to do now because of the Unstuck podcast. And I think whether we realize it or not, this is a big reason why self-love remains out of reach for many of us, because we don't want to be that self-centered person. It's like we associate self-love with self-centered, and we don't want to be that person. And we think that's what self-love, cultivating self-love, will do to us. And the other big reason I think is that we don't want to love ourselves until we're perfect. We think love can only happen when we're exactly 100% the person we want to be. It seems counterintuitive to us, deep within us, whether we realize it or not, to love ourselves when we're not where we want to be yet, which of course couldn't be further from the truth, but we really have to start kind of untangling that web in order to see that. You can and must love yourself before you are perfect or before you're the person you want to be. And of course, I have to mention the third reason is that we don't know how. We do not know what it looks like or feels like or acts like to love ourselves because it's been so long that we haven't loved ourselves. We have no idea how to flip that switch so that we can start. And that, of course, is what we're going to get into here. But first, I want to really quickly go over what it looks like and feels like to love yourself. So basically, I will be doing all the convincing right here, right now, that self-love is a non-negotiable for you because you're going to want to feel this way. Here's what it is. Self-love is valuing yourself. Honoring yourself as a human being that has needs, goals, and desires. And if you are a mom or someone that has lost themselves in their job or their relationship or their family needs, you may have also lost the ability to honor your needs. It's also acknowledging your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, which we are very knowledgeable on how to do now because of past episodes here. And it's learning more about who you are, also something we're doing quite a bit of right now. It's standing up for yourself, gaining confidence from the inside out, which means who you are as a person versus what you look like. It's developing compassion, respect, and concern for yourself. It's always working towards being your best self. Giving yourself permission to not always be okay, right, perfect, or positive. It's okay to not be okay. It's more than okay to not be okay. How about that? It's a matter of feeling it and acknowledging it and expressing it. And lastly, self-love is making time to care for yourself. And that's where self-love and self-care are connected, which they are not the same thing, but they are very much connected. Self-care is a part of self-love. As you can see by this list, none of this, not one iota of this, is considered conceited, egotistical, or narcissistic. These are all requirements for a person to be fully healthy, happy, fulfilled, and whole. We all need these things. You might want to just reverse back, rewind a little bit, and go through that list again. That is really important to recognize that you all need. And there is a way to get all of those in one swoop, and it is with self-love. Speaking of, now I want to get into the nitty-gritty of why self-love is an absolute essential piece to your self-improvement puzzle. So why do we need self-love? Well, it takes away doubt and suffering, sets up your boundaries and standards. It gives you quiet confidence and puts you in charge of filling up your own cup. Big one. That's a big one. It also gets you into a high vibe place. Of course, we know that's the ultimate goal with everything we do is to feel those high vibe emotions. Self-love also allows you to attract people of the same caliber that will build your strong community. That includes your partner, your friends, your coworkers, everyone that you surround yourself with will have a higher standard that meets your expectations. You will naturally start treating other people better. You will make decisions based on what is best for you, not someone else. It allows you to let go of perfection, and it frees you from negative thinking. And just as a caveat here, this does not mean that negative thoughts won't come up, but you will have built the awareness for yourself to know that those negative thoughts are not real and you can choose to think differently. Pretty good list, right? Those are both pretty good lists. And it's like, I don't even need to expand on any of that for you to really get the importance behind this, the real, true importance behind cultivating self-love for yourself as a non-negotiable part of your life, your mindset journey, your self-improvement project, whatever you want to call it. This is a non-negotiable step. So let's dive into how we do this. How do you love yourself? So many different ways, so many different ones. What I will say, I'm going to give a list and kind of go over some of them. This is not all of them, but I will say it's one of those things where the more the better. It's not like you just pick one and go with that one and think that you have found self-love. The more the better. And it may start with one or two, and then you can slowly build on and build on and build on. It's like the more love you have for yourself, the easier it is to start incorporating more of this work. So as of right now, especially if this is kind of a foreign topic for you, just see if there are a few that you can start with and then keep going, keep progressing as it gets more and more comfortable. If you've been working on self-love for a while, then I would challenge you to go through the whole list, do it all. Do all of it. See if you can really fine tune your practice to be 100%, at least based on the ones I'm going to give you today, and you'll be rocking it. Okay, let's go through this list. First of all, choose kinder thoughts. So of course, this comes from evaluating your self-talk, because a lot of our self-talk is negative. It's that constant chatter. It's that ego talk. And I think we are all becoming more comfortable with evaluating that talk and then doing the work to alter it a little bit, to see what you can do to think a different thought, think just a little bit better of a thought, a little more positive of a thought. So can you do that? The second one, make time to do what you love. Oh gosh, you need to do this. You absolutely need to do this. We all need to be taking time for ourselves to do the things that light us up. This is really how we get into the habit of honoring our needs and our passions. Self-love requires that. So you absolutely need to do those things that you love. Make time for them regularly. Next, trust yourself and your decisions. This may be one that takes a little bit of practice. This is one that comes from the ability to listen to your intuition, having that connection with your intuitive sense and being able to decipher when it's your ego talking versus your intuition talking. Just that in itself is part of self-love for sure. But now we're going to take it to the next level and learn how to trust that. Trust that deep inner voice. Look internally instead of externally for your decision-making tools. That's when we are truly expressing love for ourselves. Next up, focus on what you like about yourself. This is, I think, probably the most common thing that we think about when it comes to self-love is like, okay, instead of focusing on my cellulite or the freckles on my face that I hate or all the wrinkles I suddenly have now that I turned 50, I'm instead going to find the things I like about myself. I like how tall I am. I like my smile. These kinds of things. You're focusing on what you like about yourself, which is wonderful. And I think is very much the first step to self-love for a lot of people. It's kind of, that's what they think when they think about self-love. And that's cool. But I want you to go deeper with this. Look beyond the physical because, yeah, of course, you have some things that you can name physically that you like about yourself. Hopefully, I sure hope you do. But what else is there? Think about you as a person, who you are, how you have created your life, things that you have accomplished, things that you do well, what other people love about you. Like, what would your best friend say about you? These are the things that we focus on. There is so much, like the list could be a mile long of the things that are great about you. And so I want you to focus on those things. I want you to create a list and then use that as a guide to get you through, especially when your inner critic starts coming out. Create that list, go back to it when that negative self-talk starts coming in, because this is what is true about you. This is your self-love coming out. Moving right along, forgive yourself for your mistakes. Forgiveness. Oh my goodness. It is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself, both forgiving yourself and others. And this is something that we do in the Unstuck Project together because it's that important. Forgiveness. Think about what you're still holding on to and what you can let go of. Now, it doesn't mean forgetting. It means forgiving. There's a difference. Forgive yourself for your mistakes, forgive others for their mistakes, and move on. Next up, let yourself not be okay. Remember, it's okay to not be okay, but you have to learn how to let it out, express it, feel it, talk about it, whatever you need to do to get it out, instead of stuffing and pretending and ignoring. This is an act of self-love when you truly feel your feelings and express your feelings instead of trying to be okay. Moving on, say no. Respect yourself, respect your time, respect your energy by saying no to those things that do not make sense for you. Those things that don't serve you, that take away time, energy, whatever it is that is important to you. Say no. This is a part of honoring yourself and respecting yourself, is to say no. Rest and relax regularly. This one might be a tough one for those of us that are used to the go, 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 gotta always be doing something productive kind of mentality, which is where I come from, that I'm trying very hard to change about myself. Rest and relax. Recharge your batteries and especially learn when they need to be recharged. Listen to your body enough to know when you need to be recharged. And please don't be afraid of taking that time to rest. Sleep in a little bit, take a nap, read a book instead of cleaning the house. Whatever you need to do, when you need to do it, when you really feel that, please make sure you honor that. Another one, respect your boundaries. Know your values, your worth, and hold yourself to them. Remember, we learned about our values back in episode 11. Now that you know them, hold yourself to them and stick up for yourself. Moving on, listen to your body. Ooh, this is a good one. Listen to your body. Nourish it, move it, rest it. Whatever you need to do, whatever your body is calling for, do it. If you listen, and we know how to tap into our intuition, that's part of listening to our body. If you listen, you'll know exactly what to do. You'll know exactly what to eat. You'll know exactly how to move. You'll know exactly when it needs rest. And then you just listen and you obey. That's all there is to it. Develop a relationship with your intuition, which goes very much with the last one. Be guided by your inner knowing self. Develop that relationship. Really work to find your intuition. It is there. Find it and listen to it. Design your dream. Have a dream and work towards it. Be excited for what's to come. Know that what you want is on its way. Also a part of self-love. Another big one that we talk about a lot here, explore your limiting beliefs. So of course, we've done a lot of work on this so far, but I want you to explore the beliefs that have come up for you and see if any of them could have been or are still preventing you from having love for yourself. So some common ones that go against self-love would be, I am not enough, I am not lovable. I don't deserve respect, care, love. Basically, I don't deserve. Whenever there's an I don't deserve in front of it, that's a lack of self-love. These are really big ones. These are in a lot of us. So you can do all of this work. You can do everything I've already listed, trying to find love for yourself. But until you have really found those limiting beliefs that go against you being able to love yourself, it's not going to happen. None of this is going to happen, no matter how much time you spend relaxing, how good you get at listening to your body. All of that will not work until you have found and redesigned those limiting beliefs. Remember, I explained at the beginning how it's kind of a self-feeding cycle. So as you work towards redesigning those beliefs that have kept you from loving yourself all these years, then you start building more self-love. And then as you start building more self-love, you're able to continue to build a new belief system that goes towards you loving yourself. So it's this never-ending cycle that is all the wonderful things, but you've got to start with really figuring out what's behind your lack of self-love, what has been behind your lack of self-love all this time. So that was quite the list, right? And all good things, all very doable things, all things I think that if you have been on this unstuck journey with me, you're already starting to do, which means you're already starting to feel the ability to love yourself a lot easier. And that is awesome. And it's just continuing this work. It's continuing down this path, and it's exploring more of these slowly but surely as you progress. And that's what I really want you to start doing. And what I really want to remind you is that self-love is a requirement to do this mindset work and for it to really take hold. If you want to raise your vibration, if you want to connect to your higher power, if you want the universe to start communicating with you, if you want to listen to your intuition, it makes it so much easier for all of this to happen when you approach it from a place of love, respect, care, and compassion for yourself. So please remember that. You cannot heal a body you hate. You've got to work on your self-love. All right, that's it for today. I really hope that I changed your perception. If there were any still lingering doubts about the importance of self-love, about the ability to incorporate it into your life and the necessity of it to be a healthy and happy human being. And if you need help with this process in any way, or if you just want to show me all the self-love you're doing, because then I can share it with everybody else, make sure to head to Shawn Miner on Instagram or Shawn Miner Health on Facebook and let me know what you're up to. Let me see what you're doing, or let me know if you need help. I'll chat with you over there. Until next week, take care.